For most of my life I've walked the straight line. Followed every rule, checked every box. I married early, raised 2 daughters, and remained faithful to my wife through every season, every storm. I embraced the structure of life, the comfort of routine, the rhythm of loyalty, and the quiet pride of building something stable. Love, to me, wasn't supposed to be thrilling or unpredictable. It was meant to be steady. If known. But not long ago something shifted. Something I never saw coming. It wasn't calculated. It wasn't meant to stir anything real. And yet, it upended everything I believed about myself, about the man I thought I'd always be. I still struggle to put it into words. Please, if you're reading this, learn from me. Don't make the same mistake of sleepwalking through your own life. It was a dull Tuesday afternoon, the kind of forgettable, overcast day where the minutes stretch endlessly. My car had broken down yet again. That made 3 times in a single month. And my wife Dana was stuck in back-to-back meetings all day. So when her colleague Lucas offered to drive me home from the grocery store, I accepted without a second thought. I knew Lucas from a few company events over the years. He was younger, probably in his late 30s, with an easy confidence and the kind of voice that made people stop and listen. Always courteous, always present. The kind of man who held the door without making a show of it, and actually listened when he asked how you were. I never really thought much about him. But now that I look back, maybe I always noticed the way his gaze lingered. Not in a disrespectful way, just long enough to feel like it meant something. We exchanged light conversation in the parking lot while he loaded my groceries into the trunk of his silver sedan, surprisingly spotless for a man living alone. "Sure this isn't out of your way?" I asked as I settled into the passenger seat. "Not at all," he said with a warm grin. "I live just 10 minutes past your place. Good excuse to escape the office early." There was something soothing about his voice, unhurried, grounded, and oddly I felt safe around him. That's not something I often feel with other men anymore. With Dana, our conversations had become entirely practical, just lists and schedules. Who's picking up what bill is due? I didn't blame her. That's just what 30 years of marriage looks like, right? As Lucas pulled out of the lot, a sudden beam of sunlight pierced through the clouds and lit up the car's interior. He glanced sideways at me, his hand resting loosely on the wheel. "You're quiet," he said gently. I gave a half shrug. "Just one of those days, I guess." He didn't push, just nodded and turned his eyes back to the road. But his presence filled the car in a way that made it impossible to ignore. Calm, attentive. He wasn't trying to fix or question anything. He was just there. We chatted about unimportant things. Traffic, weather, the new bakery on Elm. I laughed more than I expected, especially when he told a ridiculous story about Dana trying to fix the office's coffee machine and flooding the entire break room. "She conveniently left that part out," I said, wiping a tear from the corner of my eye. Lucas grinned. "She probably blamed it on the intern." I chuckled, and for a few quiet seconds we just drove. The buzz of the city slowly faded as we rolled into the suburbs. Maple Lane, where the homes were lined up like storybooks washed in golden light. At a red light we paused. The stillness in the car suddenly felt different, like the air had shifted. He turned to look at me, not dramatically, just slightly. "Just enough. Can I ask you something, Elena?" I nodded, though my heart thudded a little harder. "Do you ever wonder if people still see you?" That question, it hit something deep. Something I hadn't touched in years. "Seen?" echoed softly. He nodded again. "I mean more than just someone's spouse. Or a parent. Just you." I looked out the window, blinking away the sudden tightness in my chest. "All the time," I whispered. The light turned green. But he didn't move right away. He gave the moment space for me to say more if I wanted. I couldn't. He eased the car forward without a word. We didn't speak for the next few blocks. But it wasn't an awkward silence. It was something else, gentle, weighty. Something neither of us dared name. I sat with my hands folded over my bag, pretending to admire the lilac bushes and white fences rolling past. But my mind was still at that stoplight, still caught in the ripple of his question. Do you ever wonder if people still see you? Maybe he hadn't meant anything by it. Or maybe he had. I wasn't sure anymore. All I knew was, it stayed with me. As we turned onto my street, I glanced over at Lucas. His face was unreadable, focused. There was no sly grin, no suggestion, just presence, recognition. Thank you, I said as he pulled into my driveway. He didn't park the car, just idled there. Elena, he said, voice soft, steady. I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. You didn't, I said quickly. It's just, no one's asked me something like that in a long time. He looked at me then, truly looked, and I suddenly didn't know what to do with my hands. I see how you move through the world, he said. There's something burning quietly in you. But I think you've been taught to bury it. My face flushed, not from shame, but from the unexpected truth in his words. I didn't know how to respond, so I reached for the door handle. But before I could step out, he asked, would it be all right if I walked you to your porch? I hesitated. The logical part of me, the responsible married woman who remembers to pay taxes and pick up allergy medicine, said absolutely not. But another part of me, smaller but louder, whispered yes. He nodded. Sure. We walked the short path up to my front door. The porch light flickered overhead. I made a mental note to ask Dana to fix it, though I knew I probably would myself. I fumbled through my purse for the keys. The silence between us stretched. Not tense, just fragile. Back there, he began. I didn't mean to stir anything. You didn't, I said, turning to him. It's just hard to know what to do with a moment like that. He nodded, hands in his pockets. Sometimes moments like that remind us we're still alive, still capable of feeling something. His words didn't demand anything, but they made me want to respond. Thank you, I whispered. He gave a small smile. Have a good evening, Elena. You too, Lucas. He turned and walked back to his car, and I stood there with my keys in hand, the door still closed behind me. But inside something had shifted.